So it's generally an hour I do, and I'm going to just run through the session just as quickly as possible. So we lengthen up, pulling your belly button to the spine. Imagine you've got 10 notches on a belt and you're pulling the belt to notch number 3. You gently squeeze your glutes, your bottom, tucking your tailbone under. Lengthen up. You're always trying to pull your head by a piece of string, trying to touch the ceiling. Shoulders up to your ears, down your back pockets, knees hip width apart with a slight micro bend. So we start to roll our shoulders. So I'm going to just go through this quickly. Imagine you've got a pencil shooting out from the side of your shoulders and you're drawing a perfect circle. Relax your hands and a pencil shoots out the side of your shoulder, drawing a perfect circle. Shoulders up to your ears and down your back pockets, then you come in the opposite direction. So normally I do that for a little bit longer. Back to center, pulling your belly button to the spine, lengthening up. Remember, shoulders down your back pockets, space between the ears and the shoulders. Lengthen your arms out in front, palm to palm, shoulder width apart. Relax those shoulders. Hips are headlights out in front. Pull your belly button to the spine. Lengthen left arm longer than the right. Lengthen, lengthen. Head follows your hand. Don't move your hips. They're headlights out in front. Keep that right arm lengthened out in front. Pull that belly button to the spine. Open a little bit wider and back to center. You do 2 on that side. Then the other side. Lengthen right longer than left. Hips are headlights out in front. Knees are hip width apart. Keep that left arm lengthened out in front. Stand taller. Pull your belly button in and open a little bit wider and back to center. 2 on that side. Lengthen up left arm. Lengthen, 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 and lengthen back to center. Lengthen up right arm. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Still pulling my belly button to the spine. Just roll out your shoulders. Wash out any tension. 3 arm circles. Lengthen your arms up to the ceiling. Palms come out. Squeezing your shoulder blades together. You're going to do 3 of those. Just relax, wash out any tension. Knees hip width apart, pull that belly button to the spine. Hold on to your head with your right, tilting your head over to the right. Being pulled by a piece of string from the crown of the head. Thumb your fist, lengthen your arm down to the way, down to the floor and away. So I'm like a cracker being pulled in opposite directions. You look down at the floor. Remember, you're doing this a little bit slower. I'm just taking you through the whole exercise. Some of you will come up onto your tiptoes, focusing on a point out in front. Pull the belly button to the spine. Focus on that point that's not moving. Will help with your balance. I'm still gently squeezing my glutes, pulling my belly button to the spine. I'm a cracker being pulled in opposite directions. And back to center. We do the other side. Only the weight of your arm. Don't tug on your head. Being pulled by a piece of string from the crown of the head. Thumb your fist, lengthen your arm down to the floor and away. Cracker being pulled in opposite directions. Look down at the floor. Up onto your tiptoes for some of you, focusing on a point out in front that's not moving. And back to center. Just roll your shoulders, squeeze your shoulder blades together, just washing out any tension. Increase your stance slightly wider than hip width apart. Hold on to your hips. Micro bend in the knees. Pull your belly button to the spine. Squeeze your glutes. Left arm up to the ceiling and lengthen up and over. Stuck in between secondary glazing. I'm not leaning forward. I'm not leaning back. I'm pushing into my right hip. Sticking out left. Being pulled by a piece of string. Keep that arm nice and straight, lengthen next to your ears. Squeeze the glutes, pull your belly button to the spine, touch the ceiling and back to center. So the first one, we hold on to our hips. The second one, we lengthen up and over. Those with lumbar spine issues, you're going to squeeze your glutes, pull your belly button to the spine. Stuck in between that secondary glazing, hold on to your hip for those with lumbar spine issues, or you lengthen your arm down your thigh. Micro bend in the knees. Squeeze the glutes. Stick out to that left hip. Squeeze the glutes. Touch the ceiling. Lengthen back to center. And you do another one of those. So it's 3 on each side. Right arm up to the ceiling. Up and over. Pushing into left hip. Sticking out right hip. Being pulled by a piece of string. Stuck in between double glazing. Squeeze the glutes, lengthen back to center. So you really want to use your deep core muscles. Then we do 3 this side. So the first one, you hold on to your hip. The second one, And third, you lengthen your arm down your thigh, always being pulled by a piece of string from the crown of the head. Squeeze the glutes and lengthen your arm back to center. Just roll your shoulders, wash out any tension, knees are hip width apart. Chicken wings, lengthen your arms up to the ceiling, palms in front, elbows to waist, hands to thighs. Some of you will come onto your tiptoes, palms in front, arms to waist, squeezing your shoulder blades together, hands to thighs, some of it soles your feet. So I might do sort of 6, 7, 8 of these. Palms in front, elbows to waist, hands to thighs. Holding on to your tread rinse, dumb waiter. So you're opening up, hold on to the tread rinse. Horizontal alignment, that's not horizontal alignment. That's not horizontal alignment. Elbows tucked in tight. I'm still pulling my belly button to the spine, squeezing my glutes, opening up and close. Now, if you want to progress, level 2 is coming up onto your tiptoes, focusing on a point out in front. Elbows come out 2 to 3 inches. Elbows come in 2 to 3 inches. Close soles your feet. So some of your clients will just do this because they struggle with balance. Level 2, you're coming up onto your tiptoes, obviously slow and controlled, squeezing your shoulder blades together. Soles your feet close. Open, tiptoes, squeezing your shoulder blades together, space between your shoulders and ears, elbows come out 2 to 3 inches, elbows come in, close, soles your feet. So maybe do 6 to 8 of those. Just roll your shoulders, wash out any tension, and back to center. You're going to lengthen your arms up to the ceiling. Just do a couple of, sometimes to wash out any tension, we just do a few more arm circles. Palms come out. And when my palms come out, it just increases my range of motion. I can do bigger circles and back to center. So I'm going to really stretch the back of my shoulders now by you praying your hands. Elbows come in. I'm holding on to that penny in between my elbows. I'm floating up those palms as high as they can go. Palms open, maybe wrists open, palms closed, hold on to the penny, open up your shoulders, open up your arms, elbows in line with your shoulders, palms come down, elbows in line with your shoulders, interlacing your fingers behind your back, squeezing your shoulder blades together, and sometimes I'm squeezing my glutes, pulling my belly button to the spine, lifting my chest up to the ceiling. Keep that orange underneath your chin or a little egg. But I'm squeezing my bottom, pulling my belly button to the spine, protecting my lumbar spine. And I'll do 2 of those. So I come back again and I pray, go up, I open, I close. So obviously slow and controlled. Squeezing my shoulder blades together, lengthening my arms down my back, chest up to the ceiling, holding on to a little orange, spinal extension. And then I keep my hands interlaced behind my back. And then I'm going to bring my palms resting on my right hip. Elbow comes in. Doesn't matter if your hands can't quite rest on your hip. Tilting my head to the side, always being pulled by a piece of string from the crown of the head. Then I look up to the top right-hand corner of the room. Nice deep stretch in my neck, but also under my chin there. Then I come back to my tilt. Then I lengthen my arms back down my back, squeezing my shoulder blades together. Then I'm going to bring my hands onto my left hip. Elbow comes in. I'm still lengthening up, pulling my belly button to the spine, tilting my head over to the left, being pulled by a piece of string from the crown of the head, looking up to the top left-hand corner of the room, nice stretch underneath my chin, back to my tilt, standing, lengthening my arms down my back, squeezing my shoulder blades together. And sometimes I lengthen my hands down my back, chest up to the ceiling, a piece of strings pulling my chest up to the ceiling, holding on to that little orange underneath my chin. But I'm squeezing my glutes, pulling my belly button to the spine and back to center. Then you're going to hold on to the back of your pelvis, not your hips, the back of your pelvis. Squeeze glutes, really important. Pull your belly button to the spine. That piece of string lifts my chest up to the ceiling. Push into the back of your pelvis. Hold on to that little orange. Squeeze your glutes, pull your belly button to the spine, spinal extension, and back to center. Lengthen right up to the ceiling, pushing into the back of your pelvis. Piece of string lifts my chest up to the ceiling. hold on to that little egg, that little orange underneath your chest, lengthen your arms. You might want to do 1 or 2 on either side. So I'm holding on to the back of my pelvis, not my hips, lengthening my left up to the ceiling, pushing into the back of my pelvis. Piece of string lifts my chest up to the ceiling, but I continue to hold that little orange underneath my chin. And back to center. You might want to do 2. Then you roll your shoulders, just wash out any tension, and back to center. You're going to interlace your fingers, hands in line with your shoulders, pull that belly button to the spine, squeeze your glutes, and you're going to tuck your tailbone under. So I dip my chin to my chest, tuck the tailbone under, really pull that belly button to the spine as you're lengthening your arms. So I'm feeling a nice deep stretch across my shoulders, and I'm feeling across my lumbar spine. We stand up, shoulders down your back pockets, still pull your belly button to the spine. Dip your chin to your chest, tuck the tailbone under, pull your belly button to the spine, lengthen those arms forward. Stand up nice and tall, shoulders down your back pockets, still pulling your belly button to the spine. Now you're pushing into your palms, hands in line with your shoulders, dip your chin to your chest, tuck the tailbone under. Now I'm pushing into my palms, deep stretch across my shoulders, lumbar spine, pull your belly button to the spine. Keep on pushing into your palms, shoulders down your back pockets, lengthen your arms up to the ceiling. So I'm pushing into the palms, trying to touch my head and trying to touch my palms on the ceiling. So push, push, push. Some of you will come up onto your tiptoes, focusing on a point out in front. Now I'm still going to push into my palms, trying to touch the ceiling. My heels come down and I'm still pushing into the palms. This is where I feel like I've been really stretched. So now we're gluing our ankles together, or you stay hip width apart, depends how your balance is. So level 1, level 2, pushing them into palms, squeezing your glutes, pulling your belly button to the spine, and you sway over to the left, sticking out left hip, right hip, push into the palms, back to center, tip-top, and you sway over to the right, sticking out left hip. Push into the palms, pushing into the palms, sway over to the left, sticking out right hip, squeeze glutes, pull your belly button to the spine, push into your palms, and sway over to your right, sticking out left, and back to center, lengthen your arms in front. So that's part of the warm-up. So our second part, I've forgotten my band. Pretend I have a band. I will use my little sweatshirt here. So we're going to do 2 roll downs. Have your band in front. Level 1, regular stance, knees hip width apart. Level 2, Pilates stance. Your feet are in maybe a 45, 90 degree angle. So Pilates stance or regular stance, remember we do 2 roll downs. First is hinging forward, sticking out your glutes, flat back, pull your belly button to the spine. You can see my logo on my t-shirt. Look forward as I come down. The next one is diving over a big electrified ball. So I'm hinging forward, hinging forward, hinging forward, sticking out my glutes, micro bend in the knees, hinging forward, deep stretch to my hamstrings, my glutes. When I hinge forward there with a straight back, can't stretch my glutes or hamstrings anymore. So I hang like a rag doll, pushing into the heels, tailbone up to the ceiling. Hang like a rag doll, heavy arms. Push into the heels, tailbone up to the ceiling, head trying to touch my toes. Hang like a rag doll, heavy hands. Squeeze your glutes, pull your belly button to the spine, roll up, breathing slowly. You don't want to get a head rush, you don't want to get dizzy. And you slowly roll up 1 vertebrae at a time. And back to center. Lengthen your arms up to the ceiling. Big electrified beach ball. So you're going to dive forward, but really lengthen forward, diving over that ball. So I can feel I'm using my core as I lengthen forward, but I can feel I'm elongating my spine as I dive over the ball. I'm going to hang like a rag doll, heavy arms, push into the heels, tailbone up to the ceiling, always pulling my belly button to the spine. I'm going to take hold of my band. You might need a big bend in your knees. Hang like a rag doll. And you roll up, breathing. Squeeze your glutes. Pull your belly button to the spine. And I've got really heavy arms.
So I can feel as I roll up, my core is doing the work, but I'm really pulling my belly button to the spine as I roll up one vertebra at a time. I might have to stand back a bit here so you can see what I'm doing. Then pretend this is my band, my stretchy band. We come into mountain, pulling the band apart, pulling the band apart, mountain. Up onto your tiptoes for some of you, really challenging your balance, focus on a point out in front. Whether you're on the soles of your feet or your tiptoes, you might want to glue your ankles together to challenge your balance. Prayer, hands in line, prayer and your hands together. It doesn't matter if your hands are not in alignment. Arms, see if they can run next to your ears. And back to mountain. And you do maybe 3 or 4 of these doing this. And then you soles your feet, hip width apart, palm to palm, shoulder width apart. And I try to bring my arms back behind my ears, but without leaning back. So I'm pulling my belly button to the spine, melting my rib cage into an imaginary wall behind me, trying to get my arms behind my ears. Back to center, knees hip width apart, pulling your belly button to the spine, left arm to the back of your left leg, looking over your left shoulder, right arm up to the ceiling. Pulling my belly button to the spine, melting my rib cage into an imaginary wall, and back to center. Right arm to the back of my right leg, looking over my right shoulder, left arm up to the ceiling. And I'm not leaning back like that. I'm pulling my belly button to the spine. And back to center, lengthen the arms in front, roll your shoulder, wash out a little bit of tension, lengthen your arms in front, palm to palm, shoulder width apart, hips are headlights out in front. Take a breath in as you breathe out, rotating over to the left, pushing left hip forward. So I don't want you to twist. Rotation of your upper spine. Now we're always being pulled by a piece of string from the crown of the head, pulling your belly button to the spine, and you're lengthening your arms away from each other. See if you can do ruler. And closing. Palm to palm, shoulder width apart. And back to center. Take a breath in as you breathe out, over to the right. Pushing the right hip forward, try not to twist. And I'm lengthening up, pulling my belly button to the spine a bit more as you lengthen your arms away from each other. Back to center, obviously slow and controlled. So I'm still on my twist, palm to palm, shoulder width apart, and back to center. Just roll your shoulders. Now there's one exercise I missed out. So when you're doing your chicken wings like that, chicken wings, and then you do dumb waiter, then straight after that one, I normally lengthen out my arms, palms facing the floor, hips are headlights out in front. Take a breath in, ruler arms. So that's not ruler, this is ruler. Lengthen through the middle fingers. Take a breath in as you breathe out. You're twisting over to the left, pushing your left hip forward, looking over your left shoulder, but I've still got ruler arms. Take a breath in as you breathe out. See if you can twist a bit more. Stand taller. Take a breath in, breathe out, twist a bit more, and back to center. Obviously slow and controlled. I'm going fast. Over to the right, looking over your right shoulder, lengthen through the middle finger. Push that hip forward. Take a breath in as you breathe out, twist a bit more. Breathe in as you breathe out, twist a bit more, and back to center. Always trying to pull your belly button to the spine, squeezing your glutes, lengthening up, but keeping space between your ears and shoulders. So remember to incorporate that exercise. Now I'll go back into the exercise we're doing. So we've just finished going to the left and right, pulling the bands apart like that, and then back to center. Then you stand on the band with your right foot, toes in alignment, hand on right hip, band in, sorry, I'm using my jumper, band in left hand on right hip, and you go diagonally across, and you do 3 of those diagonally across like that without twisting your hip. And I'm trying to lengthen my arm across, but without twisting my hip. 3 of those, then we come to T. Then we do 3 of these, hands in line with your shoulders, and then we lengthen, arm in front, and without leaning backward, pulling your belly button to the spine, melting your rib cage into an imaginary wall behind you, lengthen arm up to the ceiling. Now have that band as slack, as tight as you want, but try and keep the shoulders relaxed because they're going to hurt their neck if they don't. If their band's too tight, they're going to really hurt their neck. So we swap over, holding onto your hips. So you don't want to lean back like that, pulling your belly button to the spine. So we're going diagonally across, and you're doing 3 of those, obviously slow and controlled, diagonally across, holding for a few seconds. Pull the belly button to the spine, melt your rib cage into an imaginary wall behind you. I'm always standing tall, pulling my belly button to the spine. Then is to T. Hand to shoulder, elbow in line with shoulder. 3 of those. Then you lengthen. So we're always about lengthening through the shoulder joints, always about lengthening through the hip joints, arm in front, obviously slow and controlled. And we just adjust an arm up to the ceiling. And back to center. Then just roll your shoulders, just wash out any tension. Then I work triceps. So either with or without a band, and with you can come on your tiptoes as you want, if you want to. Lengthen and lift. I do 3 lots of these. Lengthen and lift, lengthen and lift, lengthen and lift. I want to see lots of people leaning forward. You've got to always keep your shoulders down your back pockets. Lengthen and lift, lengthen and lift, lengthen and lift. Pulling your belly button to the spine. Then we pulse, 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 pulse. Little pulses, and I continuously tell them to try and lengthen and lift those arms. Pulse, pulse, pulse. Pulling your belly button to the spine, gently squeezing your glutes. And sometimes I can see their arms dropping. So you've got lengthen and lift, pulse, pulse, pulse. I do it for a bit longer. Soles of your feet, lengthen arms up to the ceiling. Have a little rest. Can anyone feel it? That's my joke. And then lengthen and lift, lengthen and lift, lengthen and lift. Some people will stay on the soles of their feet. Others will be on their tiptoes. Pulse, pulse. But sometimes I can see people doing this, clapping their hands. If they can clap their hands, they're not using their triceps. Lengthen and lift, lengthen and lift, lengthen and lift, pulse, pulse, pulse. Have a little rest, and then I just do another quick one. But if you really want to be cruel, they have their band, and then they lengthen and lift, taking on tension of the band. But I find so many people lean forward, get them to stand straight, always trying to push into the soles of their feet, push into the ball of their feet, lengthening up, and just lengthen and lift those arms, pulse, 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 pulse. So once you finish those, you roll out your shoulders, then we sit down. So this is part 1.